Even the closest allies can clash. In 2018, the U.S. Canada trade relationship was upended when the Trump administration imposed steep tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, citing national security. This move shocked Ottawa and the global community, turning a trusted partner into an economic adversary. Tariffs are taxes on imports, meant to make foreign goods pricier and boost domestic sales, but they often spark retaliation, escalating into trade wars that hurt workers and businesses on both sides. The U.S. claimed national security, but many saw it as a pressure tactic during tense NAFTA renegotiations. The administration gambled that Canada would quickly concede, underestimating the deep economic ties and Canadian resolve. Decades of cross-border supply chains meant these tariffs threatened to disrupt industries, inflate costs, and jeopardize jobs in both countries. What began as a policy move quickly became a high-stakes economic standoff. Canada didn't back down. Trudeau's government hit back with dollar-for-dollar tariffs, targeting iconic U.S. products from politically sensitive states. Items like Kentucky bourbon, Wisconsin dairy, and ketchup were chosen to pressure key U.S. lawmakers and rally Canadian consumers. The strategy was clear: inflict pain where it mattered most in U.S. politics, while fueling a Buy Canadian movement at home. Everyday Canadians responded, shifting purchases to local goods and supporting the government's tough stance. Instead of dividing Canadians, the tariffs united them, giving Trudeau leverage in negotiations. The U.S. move, meant to force concessions, backfired. Now American politicians faced angry constituents as their exports dried up. The trade fight was no longer abstract, it was personal for communities on both sides. Canada's response turned the tables, making the tariffs a political liability in Washington. The fallout was immediate. U.S. farmers, especially in the Midwest, lost a major market as Canadian tariffs made their products too expensive. Orders vanished, prices fell, and many family farms faced bankruptcy, despite government aid. In Canada, steel and aluminum producers struggled with a sudden price disadvantage, leading to layoffs and stalled investments. Manufacturers on both sides saw costs rise and supply chains disrupted, as parts crossed the border multiple times before assembly. The tariffs acted like a toll at every crossing, adding complexity and cost. Small and medium businesses, the backbone of both economies, were hit hardest. The trade war exposed just how interconnected the U.S. and Canadian economies had become. Both nations learned that economic battles rarely have clear winners. Canada didn't just retaliate with tariffs, it launched a relentless diplomatic campaign across the U.S. Officials met with governors, mayors, and business leaders in key states, armed with data on how many local jobs depended on Canadian trade. This grassroots approach built alliances beyond Washington, turning American business owners and politicians into advocates for ending the tariffs. Canadian leaders appeared on U.S. media, wrote op-eds, and spoke at community events, reminding Americans that Canada was their top customer and closest ally. The campaign reframed the dispute as a threat to American jobs, not just a foreign policy issue. By activating local voices, Canada made the economic pain impossible for U.S. lawmakers to ignore. The diplomatic push steadily increased pressure on the Trump administration to find a way out. As the trade war dragged on, pressure mounted in Washington. Farmers, manufacturers, and business groups lobbied hard against the tariffs, and lawmakers faced growing backlash from their own voters. The Trump administration, expecting a quick Canadian surrender, instead faced a united Canada and a restless political base at home. With NAFTA renegotiations nearly complete, the rationale for the tariffs faded. In May 2019, the U.S. lifted the steel and aluminum tariffs on Canada and Mexico. It was a quiet retreat, but a clear win for Canada's strategy of targeted retaliation and smart diplomacy. The episode proved that even a smaller nation can stand firm and prevail through unity and strategic pressure. Canada's response to the Trump-era tariffs is a lesson in modern trade strategy. It showed that economic leverage isn't just about size. Smaller nations can win with smart tactics and by understanding their opponent's vulnerabilities. The dispute revealed how deeply integrated economies suffer when trade barriers go up, hurting workers and businesses on both sides. Canada's success came not just from counter-tariffs, but from building alliances and winning public support in the U.S. The episode underscores the power of national unity and strategic patience in the face of external pressure. In today's interconnected world, economic health is a shared endeavor, not a zero-sum game. The Canadian playbook stands as a guide for how to respond to economic coercion with intelligence and resolve.